Hi guys, this is going to be a very exciting episode here at CBCP News Conversations. I'm Christine Pagirigan, your host for today, and we have two very special guests. They traveled so far to be here with us. Just kidding, they traveled here to be in the fourth Philippine Conference on New Evangelization. So let's get the ball rolling by introducing the both of them. First, we have Miss Clarissa Martinez. She's the director at St. Catherine of Siena in Los Angeles. She will be talking about herself more later on. And we have Father Ethan Southard, the associate pastor of Our Lady of Perpetual Help, also in Los Angeles. So this is gonna be all English episode. So stay tuned, guys. Hello to our viewers, guys. So how was your stay in the Philippines?
Great. It's just wonderful. I mean, this is my home.
Yes.
So, but just being home again, just makes it really, you get that giddy feeling of just being home.
How long have you been in Los Angeles?
I was there since I was 16 years old.
That was a
pretty
long
much
time
half
ago.
of my life is here and half of my life
Is
in the
there.
States.
So I'm not gonna ask
you.
you where is better.
No,
Let's just leave it there.
Yeah.
How about you, Father Ethan? How do you find the Philippines?
It's wonderful. This is my first visit to the Philippines, and I was sharing with a few friends earlier that I'm just so moved by the hospitality.
Yes.
There's such a graciousness and an openness, and everyone has a smile. So mabuhay.
Mabuhay! That's very awesome. So before we dive into the PCNE4, can you tell me more about what you do in Los Angeles in your parishes?
I am director of liturgy at St. Catherine's in Los Angeles, which is actually a city outside of Los Angeles.
But it's still in Los Angeles.
It's still in
Yes.
Los Angeles. It's called St. Catherine of Siena Church. And what I pretty much do is to just really be part of a journey of a beautiful community composed of different cultures. It's a lot of Filipinos, Hispanic brothers and sisters, and Asians, and and the white community. So just a beautiful. I keep hearing the word tapestry, right? Because it's just all of us just woven together in this beautiful community. So it is a beautiful tapestry, a colorful community of faith.
I'm excited to talk about that later
Yes,
on.
yes.
How about you, Father Ethan? What do you do as associate pastor?
Well, this is my first year. Actually, I've been ordained for 1 year. So I was ordained a priest in the Year of Mercy.
Fresh.
So the oils are still there. Yes. So I'm still figuring out what I'm doing. So maybe you guys can help me because I don't.
She can help you.
Yes,
She's
she
with you
can
in Los
help, she can help
Angeles.
direct.
So did you meet in Los Angeles or here in the Philippines?
We did meet in Los. We've been in the journey pretty
Okay.
much, our journey of faith together. He was a parishioner at St. Catherine's was his home while he was in the seminary.
Oh,
So
okay.
and I was full time also at St. Catherine's. So we pretty much just been kind of like spending a lot of prayer time together and community time together. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. So moving on to the PCNE, how did you were a speaker in one of the workshops? How were you invited?
I was invited by, actually, the one who invited me was a very good mentor of mine, of the reason why I am who I am in
Right
the
now,
diocese,
yeah.
in the parish, in the ministry, is because of her. Like, she had opened me up to a lot of these openings of faith expressions and faith experiences and encounters, and just being able to really deepen my faith through the liturgy. So learning all of that stuff, and just kind of like found my place. I don't know how, but I'm here. And I found
So
my
happy
place here,
for
and it's
you.
just so it's a beautiful encounter, really, so far, and being able to just share it to the community at PCNU is just, it's really just a blessing and an honor to be able to do it.
So what did you talk about in the Philippine Conference on New Evangelization?
So I've shared with you before, the title is called La La Land meets
Leron,
Leron Sinta. So it's a beautiful, in a nutshell, it's an East meets West type of thing, where how we are able to kind of share our gifts or exchange gifts, from, being in a multicultural community, and also being able to share who I am, not just a Filipino, but just being able to share who I am,
Yes.
that transcends.
As a person,
Right,
yes.
as a person, and transcends borders of culture, transcends borders of generation, and being able to just like put that into, inject that into the liturgy, and that's pretty much just my role, is to just stay listening and paying attention to the spirit that comes out from the people themselves, not my own stuff, but just like really prayerfully just watching and paying attention and being attentive. And then from there, you just kind of, my role is really to just facilitate and bring that together so it becomes Christ himself that comes out, not cultures, not colors, not,
Not
different
anything,
languages,
yes.
not anything, but Christ himself that surfaces in the liturgies.
Just by listening, I think it's so beautiful. So how more if
Right.
you're really
Yes.
there. Father Ethan, I've heard that you were you came here as a delegate. But
Yes.
just like you said to me a few minutes ago, you became a co-presenter. So can you tell me about the experience of an on-the-spot presenter in PCNE workshop? And
Sure.
how did it happen?
Sure. Well, I wasn't, a few months ago, I wasn't even thinking that I was going to be going to the PCNE.
Okay.
And Clarissa had shared with me the letter of invitation that she had received. And I was very supportive and very encouraged and excited for her. And then as the journey continued, she says, well, Father Ethan, I'm going to be presenting. Maybe there's an opening for you to go to the Philippines. And I thought, oh, wow. That would
Let's go.
Let's go. So little by little, the path opened up. So when I came, I was a U.S. delegate. And I was listening to Clarissa with her sharing with the La La Land and the Philippines, and it was so beautiful. And then towards the end of her presentation, she says, she's describing about the liturgy and how the liturgy is so beautiful and how the liturgy transcends. It helps us to enter into the life of Christ. And she shared it, in her experience in Los Angeles, that there's been this encounter of people transcending their differences and entering into the oneness of Christ, and it's happening in Hollywood.
Wow.
And so she started sharing about this group of people that goes out on Tuesday nights. And so often people think of Hollywood as, the Hollywood of
Simple.
stars, yeah, the Walk of
The
Stars.
the worldly side of things.
Right. But the thing that most people aren't aware of or don't want to talk about is there's a lot of broken dreams. People come to
Yes.
Hollywood thinking that there's going to be all these dreams and all this excitement and success. But quite often, and it's not just Hollywood, it's everywhere,
Yes.
there's a brokenness. And so as I was sitting, listening to Clarissa, she invited me to come up and share because I've gone out with that group of people to help feed the homeless and just do that liturgy, that work of seeing Christ in each other.
That's amazing. Congratulations for being a co-presenter.
Yeah.
I threw him in the pool. That's
The Holy Spirit told you to.
yes, to throw him in the pool, and
So-
he was there.
So how did the audience receive the talk, or in general, how did it feel? The whole conference.
It was quite fun, like the whole, again, the title, the concept was so exciting.
Yes,
and
it's
you know,
catchy.
right, it's
It's
catchy.
really
And
catchy.
so in the end, what it felt like is that we were all traveling, in different places. I mean, we talked about transcending, and it was just, we were traveling from Manila, and then we moved over to La La Land, and then La La Land, and then we were back to the
yes.
Philippines, and it's like, it was just, everybody just felt like we were doing this journey together, and it was like an hour and a half, but then it felt like we really went
Traveled,
trans-ocean, to just be in two different places at the same time, and then we come together and we're like, wow, that was quite a journey, because it ended with saying that, well, liturgy does not
Yes.
end inside the church. Liturgy does not end at Mass. The liturgy went outside of La La Land in the Hollywood Boulevard, when you got liturgy outside, when you're sharing and breaking bread outside. Those whom the church cannot reach within the church itself. But there are people out there who are bringing the gospel into flesh and breaking bread with the people who are not reached by the liturgy in the church.
How about you, Father? Yeah.
Well, what I encountered, what I experienced with Clarissa's openness and with her facilitating this space, we were all able to enter into Christ. And so often we think of East or West.
Yes.
They're different worlds. But what I actually experienced was, instead of trying to bring the two together, we actually entered into the oneness of Christ, which actually goes deeper than any cultural differences. And so I felt that, and I felt that the people who were there in that room, in that sharing, were actually entering into the depth, into the heart of Christ, because that was the theme of the conference. It's the
One heart, one soul.
one heart, one soul.
One heart, one soul.
So one of the things that we have ended with the video, so we showed a video
Yes.
of, the group that was giving food to the homeless in Hollywood Boulevard. So right along the Walk of Stars, there's this man, his name is Raghu, and we introduced them to the group. So we were companions in the journey, and we introduced another companion in the journey, and we said, everyone meet Raghu, and he was on video, and he was formerly a homeless man that would like to extend also his kindness and charity to others. And he said, I want to be able to give also. I want to be able to share too.
That's so heartwarming.
So he also became a companion in the journey. And so at the end of the talk, a lady just came up to me and said, hi, I just want to thank you for the talk, but most of all, I just want to share with you that we would like, so it was her and her companion, he said, we would like to pray for Raghu.
Aww.
And we said, and there was one thing that they would have brought home in that talk was to pray for someone and to be in union with someone that they don't even know about. And
That's
that
oceans away from them.
oceans away,
yes.
and for them to be in that deep communion, to be connected together, is just, there it is. Jesus is a happy
Yes.
camper.
That's so fulfilling. So, do you have, just a curious question, what are some cultures in Los Angeles that can relate to the cultures here in the Philippines? You've said that the power of Christ and the liturgy brings together the whole world. So, what are some examples of those instances?
So a part of the talk also, they showed a little bit of a video clip of how we would come together in liturgy at St. Catherine's in our parish. So every year it's always such a big preparation and I meant the preparation is that journey of just prayer time, a lot of prayer time and a lot of communion time. And that is the most essential part, I think, of liturgy preparation. Yeah, sure, you have your details, you have to get through this and that, you have the script, you kind of meet together and train everybody and stuff like that. But the most important part is that we are planning together and preparing together in prayer.
Yes.
As we are as we are in this journey together, the goal really is for us to come into that union, so that when we are one in the spirit, again, it all boils down to one. What comes up in the liturgy is always Christ.
Yes.
So then, if we put together, let's say, the community of the Guatemalan community, it would say, this is what we do in Guatemala. We would always process out the Santo Entierro.
Yes.
And so the Filipinos
Process.
would hear about it, in the streets on Good Friday, which is precisely
That's
what
exactly
we do.
what we do here.
Exactly what we do. So the Filipinos are like, wait, that's exactly what we do. So now here comes the Guatemalans and the Filipinos just coming together and bringing their elements Next thing you know, they're speaking the same language, and then they bring it together. It's not just bringing together the details of it. Now their hearts are one. Their soul, who is engaging in that preparation, is now one.
One in Christ.
One
yeah, that's
in
so
Christ,
goosebumps.
right? And so when you and then when you see it, when you witness it on the video we showed it, you can't even tell. Like you can almost not pinpoint anymore. Like who did this? What group is this? What culture is that? It was nothing like that, because there was no language barrier, there's no culture barrier. But when you see it, Christ is the one who's being lifted up into that liturgy, and it's a beautiful, beautiful experience.
So we also see how we can find unity in diversity.
Yes.
I have a question though. Can you answer for the Philippines and then answer for Los Angeles? What are some of those diversities? I mean, we have something or special events or special gatherings or special beliefs that makes one diverse from the other. But as we know, liturgy and Christ transcends those. But can we pinpoint some
Sure.
in the Philippines and in Los Angeles?
Okay.
Who wants to go first?
You want to go first, Father Ethan?
I'll try. So as Clarissa was sharing about the liturgy and bringing together the different groups, it just brought back to mind my ordination. And so that was just over a year ago. And so as Clarissa mentioned, within the parish at St. Catherine of Siena, there's an Anglo, the white group, there's the Hispanic group, but within the Latinos, there's Mexicans and El Salvadorians, and then there's the Filipino groups. But she was able to, in putting together, helping me to put together the liturgy, bring together all those different cultures in this beautiful, beautiful entrance procession. And I've never seen, and a friend came up and he says, Father Ethan, I've never heard a song move from Spanish into Tagalog, into English, and then back again. This is all in the
And
entrance.
smoothly.
Without missing a beat. With the procession, there were dancers coming in. It was Filipino dancing. It was Mexican dancing. It was wonderful. So to be able to bring in, because Los Angeles is a melting pot.
Okay.
Every day, every Sunday, there's probably Mass celebrated in 45 different languages.
Wow.
So to think about what that looks like, this is a metropolitan. It's a global city. So who is the one? How are you able to unite? It's Christ.
Yes.
So Christ is the one who brings us all together. And so I think finding the different ways to culturally synthesize and come together is one way. It's a way to start us into relationship, into communion, into to conversation. But once again, as Clarissa was sharing, it has to come into and from the prayer. And so if we're actually entering into the depth of Christ's heart, then He's the one who unifies.
Yes. Thank you for
So
that.
that's my start. So
How
maybe
yours?
Clarissa.
All right, I want to share. Every year in Los Angeles, there is a huge gathering of Catholics called Religious Education Congress, and it's maybe attended about 45,000 people
Annually?
annually, right? And so 45,000 people, Catholics, just come
That's-
together,
wow.
and every single day they would have liturgies, and they would literally have like 5 or 6 simultaneous liturgies, and in different locations all at the same time. So you pretty much kind of take your pick of which liturgy you want to go. It's kind of like Disneyland, like which ride do you want to go to,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So this year we were invited. The Filipino community of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles was invited to do a specific a special liturgy, and they call it the contemplative liturgy in the Filipino perspective.
Okay.
So we were invited to do a liturgy that we have never really experienced preparing before.
Okay.
So that really just
The struggle is real.
yes, the struggle is real. Because as soon as you say Filipino liturgy, you think fiesta, you
Yes,
think
yes.
about the Filipiniana, just the whole deal, right? So everything is
It's
like
Sean and stuff.
right, exactly. So it's the whole joyful
Yes.
parades and things like that, right? And so this time they want us to just be in that contemplative mode
Yes.
in the Filipino perspective. So the first question was, how do we become contemplative when we think about Filipino liturgies as fiestas,
Yes.
right? And so we really had to pray so hard about it to see how to express that and still be able to rise up to the Filipino-ness
Yes.
of the liturgy, without losing that. And so what came up was a group of us came together and we prayed about it, and we just kind of like brainstormed on like what comes to mind when it comes to contemplative liturgy. So one of the things that really popped up to us was engaged silence. Okay, that's something that we can really
Yes.
meet together without being Filipino or you being Filipino. Let's all meet in that silence, but not
yes.
just quiet silence. It's an engaged silence.
Okay.
So from there, we start coming up and fleshing out that concept of what's engaged silence, and then we said, okay, well, we want them to have a participative stillness. Like, how do you become still and still
That's
be able to participate? Right, exactly. So, and then we flesh out those concepts of participative silence, engaged stillness, and bring that. And I said, I think that sounds about contemplative liturgy to us. So whether it becomes an English song or Tagalog song or, whatever kind of format of liturgy, if we kind of like focus on those two concepts, I think we can sort of make it happen. I said, well, what about the Filipino-ness of it? So we thought about like, well, what can we do? What are parts? And then what brings us to us now is our Filipino, the region in the Philippines where the Paschal mystery is so abundant in their life. And I talk about our brothers and sisters who go through the harvest cycle
Yes.
of the rice.
Yes.
Right? Sabi natin that we are our lives
Actually, may be
revolve,
zero,
right?
yes.
Our lives revolve around sa mga probinsya.
Yes,
Yung mga
yes.
nagtatanim, tapos inaabangan nila
Yes.
nagtatanim, and then they persevere in make sure that they have the good harvest, and then when they
Yes.
harvest, and then there's
That's
a fiesta, and then there's a
amazing.
gathering, right? So we're like, well, let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's bring them to, again, we're transporting them into another place so that it brings out that Filipino-ness
Yes.
in us. And so instead of having the fiestas and all that, we ended up having like that right
Engaged
engaged
silence.
silence and participative stillness with ifugao dance.
Ifugao
Or
dance.
the planting rice movement, within the liturgies. And so it becomes again a colorful integration of that liturgy.
The liturgy is so diverse and it's beautiful. You can sing, you can dance, you can just sit still. It's so powerful, yet it's so simple. But we have to admit that some people don't actually understand it. Some events have opening liturgies, closing liturgies, but they just do gospel readings, and then the prayer, and then a song. But we miss out the important thing. How can you help people understand it better on the simplest term? But did you get the struggle?
I could share maybe just an experience I
Okay,
had this
okay.
morning. So, a few of us we've gathered. We've been gathering the last few days, sharing and
Okay.
talking. And this morning I woke up and I didn't feel good.
Okay.
I was kind of like in a fog. Do you ever get that way?
Yes.
You're like kind of like in a fog.
Waking up
you're
in
like
the bad
fog.
side of the bed.
Yeah, it's just like I
What's
don't
wrong?
I don't want to talk to anybody. It's time to go. We're packing up. We're moving on to the next place, and I love the Philippines, and I'm having a great time, and I love everyone I'm with. But at the same time, I just said, I just want to stay in my room today. So
happens.
It happens. So we went to celebrate Mass, and that's my favorite thing. Is just being able to take everything, being able to take my life, my struggles, the fog that I'm in, the bad conversation I had the night before, or the argument I had, or as a priest, just encountering difficult situations. We were sharing about the homeless in Hollywood and Ragu and
Ragu.
some of the others. So being able to take the struggles, being able to take the brokenness and the vulnerability and be okay with it. Be okay with that, and then take it to Christ and unite it with Christ in His suffering and in His passion and in His uncomfortability and in His brokenness. Because it's not just His, He's entered into ours.
Yes.
And so that's the liturgy. That's the work. It's the surrendering. Jesus says, "I am the truth, the life, and the way."
Yes.
And so there's a beautiful way about Him. But the truth, His truth, is our truth. And so when we look at Him suffering and dying on the cross, we can see something about our own lives. And it's not something, we don't have to be afraid of it. It's not something because that's, for me, I don't want to see that. And I don't want to feel it. I want to close my eyes, and I want to distract myself and hide. But the truth is that it's okay.
Yes.
And so I celebrated the Mass, and I poured all of that
Frustration.
frustration and
Ugliness.
The
ugliness,
question.
the question, the jealousies, the everything. I just poured it into the consecration. And so lifting up the bread and lifting up the wine. Jesus, this is what I imagine when I'm consecrating, especially the precious blood. So I hold up the chalice and I empty all of that junk. I empty all that junk into the cup. And Jesus is saying, pour it all in there. Pour it in. Pour it in. And then He says, I'll drink it. He says, I'll drink it for you. You can't drink this. I'll drink it. And so He drinks it. And then when His heart is pierced on the cross, that cup is held under His heart. And so his precious blood is poured out. He says, now drink this. He says, drink my life. He says, this is my life. He says, and walk with me on the way. And so for me, that's what's happening in the liturgy when I'm open and I'm active and I'm participatory. You know, the active participation doesn't have to be me doing something on the outside. You know, the real active participation, it's an interior reality.
It's
And so,
inner.
yeah, being able to enter into that, and you can't quantify that. You can't quantify, you know, it's a lot of times the temptation is that we want to go out and quantify, you know, this program or that program, or there's this many numbers, or, you know, it's this big, or it looks like this.
Yes. No.
Who knows? The real evangelization is happening on the inside.
Inside, yes. That's one of the most beautiful imagery of consecration I've ever heard, and thank you for that. So this is gonna be the $1 million question.
So she'll take it.
No, I should have taken the other question.
So usually in our conversations, I give the guests a few minutes before we end to talk to the viewers. So you're gonna be talking to our audience, and the question would be, you personally have embodied and encountered how powerful liturgy and how you can encounter Christ in the liturgy. Can you tell the world how important it is, and how, in a personal way, how do you think can liturgy change the world or answer the problems step by step or simple ways? So who wants to go first? I think it's gonna be yours. He just finished.
I think you're right.
I told you last time.
I should have taken it. Well, I could, but you know, you do need another episode if you want to talk about this. But no, actually,
That's
I
another
want to.
challenge.
Right.
Yes.
Actually, I want to continue on with what Father Ethan had said earlier. Because as he was talking about that, what's coming up to me is the prayer that we say before we receive Jesus is, Lord, I am not worthy that you should enter under my roof, under my roof. And the same way, I go back again to PCNE, when the Cardinal said, what did the Cardinal say?
He
The
says,
roof's open, enter through the roof. When the door is closed, enter through the roof. And that is the image of what we're talking about. And when we were at Mass this morning, that was exactly the image that I was thinking about. Wow, Lord, I'm not worthy that you should enter. It's Jesus who is being brought down under the roof. So God is bringing everything, all of himself, all of his divinity, all of him, the entirety, not just part of him, not just his heart, not just his, head, but Lord, I'm not worthy that you should enter under my roof, but only say the word. My soul shall be healed. And the Cardinal says also at the PCNE, he says, if there are no more doors, if there are no more openings, enter through the wounds. Open through the open wounds, enter through the open wounds. And so I, who is wounded as ever, when Jesus says, thank you for inviting me, because when you said by faith that, Lord, I'm not worthy that you should enter under my roof, he says, thank God you let me in. And not only did he enter under my roof, he entered through my woundedness. Woundedness of all of me, because he says, as soon as you say that, Clarissa, you better be careful what you say.
You're gonna get
it.
That's
exactly.
so true.
And that's what it is. That's what Eucharist is about. Somebody's the most beautiful imagery of a priest had said, the heavens and the earth kiss. As soon as at the beginning when we sing Holy, Holy, right? When the consecration begins, heaven and earth kiss. There is a divine that comes down among us, in us. And as soon as we receive Christ in the Eucharist, then we are divinity in the world. Then we are the kingdom of God here on earth, as it is in heaven.
It's so overwhelming.
It's overwhelming.
But we still have Father to answer the question.
Yours.
St. Paul says that he bears constantly. He bears constantly within himself the dying of Christ. So that is the liturgy. So the liturgy is the dying and the rising of Christ. So if he's bearing constantly the dying of Christ within him, then the rising of Christ is constantly happening within him as well.
Yes.
And so we're called, that is our heritage, that is our inheritance, is to not only journey with Christ, but it's to be one in Christ. Christ is living his life within us. St. Paul says it's no longer I, it's Christ who lives within me. So that is the liturgy. We're actually being eaten alive from the inside. Our life, all of our hopes, our dreams, our desires, they're being eaten up little by little. And we're transforming, we're becoming Christ into the world. And so it's not only for our sake, but it's for the salvation of the world. This work, liturgy is the work, it's the transformation. And so what I'd like to tell the viewers, all the times when you feel broken and frustrated and hurt and wounded, that's the best. I know it doesn't feel like it. I know we were sharing earlier, we want to run away from it and hide and stay in our room and just, distract ourselves. But that's the gold. That's the best. Just give it to Jesus. Because it's not only for ourselves, but we're actually participating in the great work on behalf of everyone else.
Yes.
On behalf of everyone in the world. So the whole world is actually being transformed through our participation in Christ's dying. So if we allow Christ to die within us, and we keep taking it back into the Eucharist, into the liturgy, right? The whole world will change in ways that we have no clue. And we don't need to. But we could just rest and trust that Jesus is doing something new.
And thank God we're not doing all that.
Yes.
Thank God Jesus is doing all that.
We can let go.
That's the best part.
Yes.
That's the best part.
And then the best part is he rises.
Yes.
And we rise in him.
It never ends with the woundedness and the struggles.
Yes.
I don't actually want to close. I don't want to ruin the moments. But this has been one of the most fruitful conversations I've had. I've learned so much, and I'm so blessed to be with you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. And who knew that I would meet you? We are oceans apart, and I think this was meant to be. Thank you so much. I hope the viewers were blessed. And you can always contact us, message or comment if you need more. If you have questions, we're so willing to help you out. And just bring Christ, even online. So people are always online, and we want to bring Christ online. And I hope the liturgy can be brought online too, even though it's not really that physical. How is that? I mean, before I close, I got a weird question. Is it possible to encounter liturgy online? That's gonna be a next episode.
But I think that's your job.
I'm gonna try and figure that out. So just continue watching, guys. We hope that you learned a lot in this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have more episodes coming. Thank you, guys. We hope to see you again here in the Philippines, and we will be praying for you in Los Angeles.
Thank you so much.
No
Thank you for your
ocean can
prayers.
take us apart.
Yes. Yes.
Only Christ matters, and this has been a really wonderful episode.
Salamat po.
Thank you. Mabuhay!